Okay, this is our bonding lab, the James Bond lab, and the objective for this experiment is to determine experimentally the properties of compounds that are made with chemical ionic bonds and covalent bonds. We're going to try to use what we discover about those properties and in identifying an unknown. All right, so the first thing is we're going to look at the melting of these substances. And so we're going to take a piece of aluminum foil and a small evaporating dish, and we're kind of going to mold a little bowl out of the foil. So we're kind of using the dish as a mold. Okay. And then, oops, we're going to put a sample of the known substances. So this is sample B. Oops, a little bit too. And we're going to observe whether the sample melts. So we're going to gently heat the substance, and we're trying to see if it melts. And immediately we can see that this is melting right away. So substance B, which is covalent, has a relatively low melting temperature, melting point. So we can do this again with sample C, and sample C is an ionic compound. And nothing seems to happen here. So we're going to continue heating the substance for about a minute. There really isn't any noticeable change to it. The next test that we're going to perform is a solubility and conductivity test. So we're going to take a small beaker and we're going to half fill the beaker with distilled water or deionized water. So we're using deionized water because tap water would conduct electricity, and our results would not be accurate then. So first let's test our conductivity apparatus by just touching the two pieces of metal, and we see that the light comes on. So the device works. And we're going to test the deionized water to make sure that it does not conduct electricity. And there we go, the light does not come on. So this is good. So sample B, we're going to add a small amount of the sample to the water, and we're going to stir for a couple minutes. So sample B was our covalent compound. And after about just a few seconds of stirring, we observe that it's already dissolved. So, and then we can test the conductivity of the dissolved. And it's negative. The light does not come on. So substance B was soluble, but it does not conduct electricity. We're going to repeat the experiment with sample C. New water. Does not conduct. We're going to add C to it. Stir. Again, only after a couple seconds of stirring, we observe that it dissolves. Now we're going to test the conductivity of C, which is an ionic substance, and the light comes on. So C, which is ionic, dissolves and also conducts electricity. So after completing all of the tests, there's some clear patterns that are observable in the properties of ionic and covalent compounds. And what we're going to do is, now that we've determined some patterns in behavior, we're going to use these properties of each to identify an unknown. So we're going to repeat the melting experiment with our unknown sample. So we're going to heat up the unknown. Right away on the edges, we see that the unknown starts to melt. So no need to continue. It's pretty clear that the unknown melts. Okay, the next part of the lab is to test the unknown for its solubility and conductivity. So we're going to take, again, some deionized water. Just to be sure, once again, we're going to test that our apparatus works. The light comes on, and the light should not come on when it's in the water. And there we go, no light. So the deionized water by itself does not conduct electricity, as we would expect. Okay, so we're going to add some unknown to the water. And we're going to stir and test for the solubility. All right. Already dissolved after a couple seconds of stirring. So the unknown is soluble. And we're going to test conductivity. And the light does not come on. Or it comes on very, very, very dimly. So the unknown is not a conductor of electricity. So our goals for the experiment were to determine the properties of ionic and covalent compounds experimentally, and the second goal was to identify an unknown compound as being ionic or covalent by using its properties. So now that we have completed the lab, I think it's pretty easy to see some patterns of behavior for ionic compounds and also for covalent compounds. There's some things that stand out that we can say ionic compounds do this. Likewise, there's also properties that stand out for covalent compounds. We can say, well, covalent compounds, we can recognize them because they do this. So after drawing these conclusions, as far as what are the properties of ionic compounds, what are the properties of covalent compounds, then we can use that to identify our unknown. Okay, good luck on this experiment.